Welcome to That's What She Said. My name is Beth Kelling, and today I am introducing my new co-host, Ryan Gunderson. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's your day going today?
Excellent. Always is. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So, the way this came about, us becoming co-host, is we were talking about the podcast, and I asked you when you were going to come on as a guest, and you
Uh-huh.
said, "Well, I'm a much better listener than anything else, so maybe I should interview you." And I said, like, a spark went off in my head of like, I could picture us just co hosting together and I could picture how it would be. And I waited a week because I was scared to ask you.
Yeah.
But when I asked you, I told you to think about it for a couple days. And you were like, "Is it okay if I say yes now?" And I was like, "Yes." And I've been so excited ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have been incredibly excited even since the start of me hearing about you wanting to start a podcast and starting a podcast. I just think it's such a cool thing, and yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more appreciative to be asked to be your co-host. So thank you.
Yeah, because you're into podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been a listener for a long time, hardcore Theo Vaughn listener. And then, yeah, I bounce around between other ones, some farming ones and whatnot and stuff. But yeah, I think it's a really cool outlet to, sometimes when you're working, you don't really feel like listening to music, but then you don't really feel like listening to the radio because there's too many ads. So then sometimes you want to kind of gear it more towards what your interests are and stuff. So yeah, it's super fun, super, super fun.
Yeah, it's funny because Theo Vaughn is my favorite podcaster too. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can like go towards his style.
Exactly. Gang, gang, right?
Yeah. Yep. And you said you like to listen because then you can really get to know a person.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like from an early age, I could just kind of see that I didn't love talking about myself all the time. So I honestly like to just ask questions. And it's really, people make it a lot harder than it is to be, when you want to get to know someone, because what do they like talking about? Things that they know or themselves or anything of that nature. So you just take little bits and pieces and kind of piece it together. And, once they stop talking about one topic, you kind of heard something from their conversation. So then you go towards this other one. So yeah, it's super fun. I don't know. I feel like I'm not the best like pronunciator, or like Steve is excellent. He has a way with words that's just like none other. And someday I hope to be that way, but for now I just like to listen. So yeah.
I don't even hope to be that way because I don't think I can. And I'm getting so mad at Steve for not starting his own podcast because
Yeah.
he is so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So well
Yeah.
spoken.
Yeah.
But I can see you getting there.
We'll see. We'll see.
So how long have you worked at Sherman?
I started in February 24th. So that's going to be, is that 4 months now? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's your role?
I think my actual title is assistant project manager, but I consider myself assistant to all because I basically do anything under the sun, and whether that be on the 1089 side or the custom home side or the pole barn side, I mean, basically just if there's a question or there's a project that they need help on, I jump in on it. So yeah, it's super awesome. I get to learn every single side of it, and I mean, like, this is my job, I get to podcast with you. So, I mean, I couldn't be more thankful for it, how it's kind of flourished into just you do the random stuff. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, because I see you around more than anybody else. Like you're in every department. You're out in the yard. You're down by the 1089 stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I really like that because, I've been in previous roles where you kind of have to stay in your lane, or like, that's outside of your scope of work, and it kind of stinks because it's like, well, they need help. Why can't I just help them a little bit? So it's super fun to all of a sudden it's like there's a crew guy that got sick, so then I'm gonna go out on the job site for the day. It doesn't matter to me, or Monday mornings, we just got done doing payroll because today's Monday and stuff. So it's like it just help with all these random things, but I love it because I'm doing things that actually mean something and help, instead of just staying in my own lane and, well, I'm kind of got a free hour, so I'm going to twiddle my thumbs or whatever. So yeah.
It's fun to be so versatile.
Absolutely. And you probably see me a lot because I can't sit at my desk for more than like probably 2 hours. So I need to get up and walk around. So then I just make a reason to get up and walk. So yeah.
What are some previous roles that you've had at other jobs?
So my last one, I worked at a bank, which was a lot different than what my personality was or whatever, because I am a fairly active person and stuff. But I was a credit analyst. So I basically just underwrote loans and looked at financials and stuff. And the idea was that was a stepping stone into a lending position, and it just didn't end up jiving with me and stuff. And lucky enough to find this job and take this one
Mhm.
on. Then prior to that, I worked at a chicken company actually, and I was in charge of 16 chicken barns,
Mm.
which was roughly like 500,000 chickens. So
Wow.
yeah, I got to oversee that and do a lot of messing around with that. And then went to college, and before that, and work construction, and yeah, did a bunch of stuff while I was in high school and stuff. But yeah, this is awesome. I love working here. So
And you have a farm yourself?
yeah. My wife and I, we have 50 cow calf pairs. So we have Black Angus beef cows that they calve in the spring, and we sell the calves in the fall and stuff. So a really big passion of mine. Like since I was 3, I've always wanted to be a farmer. So I'm literally living out my dream, and
Mm.
I can't be more thankful for it. 50 now, and I don't know. Like I like to tell people I want to take it to the moon. So I'd like to have about 300 is kind of my number if someone asks, but I don't know. I could go higher, I could go lower. We'll see. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you're so busy.
yeah. I love
Mm.
being busy. I really do. So yeah.
Awesome. So I think you being a good listener shows how curious
Uh
of a
huh.
person that you are. And I asked you what your favorite childhood memory was, and you said that it was going to the White Pine Threshing Show and seeing the evolutions of farm machinery.
Yeah.
So that shows that your curiosity started at a very young age.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I probably got to see that through like my grandpa's eyes, because my grandpa he was born in 1922. He's passed away now, but he was able to see. I mean, they started out farming with a horse, and then they
Mm,
eventually got a tractor, and then all of a sudden it's like now it's common to have 5 tractors on a farm.
mhm,
So it's just like the differences between here and there, but he really appreciated how life was back then because he knows how easy it was in the modern era.
mhm.
So I don't know. I really think that's super cool. And I don't know. I like to appreciate things that seem to be underappreciated sometimes. So yeah. And I don't know. I think the world's super fascinating. And it's like, what if we didn't go that way? What if we were, and I don't know. That's why I think the Amish are kind of cool, because they still live like archaic, if you want to call it
Mhm.
that. And yeah, I don't know. I think life is really interesting, and the things that we take for granted nowadays are luxuries that people 20, 50, 100 years ago couldn't even dream of, because their
Mhm.
mind couldn't comprehend it.
Mhm.
They couldn't think that you could have something in your pocket that would
Mhm.
be a calculator, a light, a source from information, a way to communicate with everyone. I mean, it's
Call
kind of.
somebody across the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And sometimes, we don't even think twice about it. We're
Mhm.
bored. And
Mhm.
and a lot of the reason that I wanted to be a farmer is because growing up I hated being bored.
Mm.
I didn't really grow up on a farm. I kind of turned my parents' place into a hobby farm by the time I was graduating high school and stuff, but I could only ride my bike so much. I could only swing so much. I could only. My brothers really didn't always want me to play with them. And then you're inside in the air conditioning. It's beautiful outside. We didn't have a pool. We didn't have any of that. And it's like, I don't really want to be inside. I want to go outside and do something. So then that kind of developed into my neighbor at a farm. So then I would walk across the field to his place and just start getting interested in that. And yeah, developed into what it is today. But going back to that, I hated being bored. Where
Mhm.
bored isn't something that like I don't think a kid is able to have anymore,
Mm.
because there's either a TV or a screen or something that can occupy their time. And I remember on Theo's podcast, he was interviewing, or he was maybe just talking about one of his nieces, and he said that he asked her to go use her imagination, and she thought that that was an app,
I saw that
and
too.
that just blew my
And
mind.
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely, because you
Mhm.
can't think outside the box to just
Mm.
do something,
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I don't know. It's stuff like that where I do very much so appreciate the time that I grew up in, because I didn't get a cell phone until I was probably in 7th grade. And at
Mhm.
that time, Facebook, yeah, was starting to develop and stuff, but I didn't get Facebook until my senior year, I think. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I just kind of was on the back end of it, which I feel very fortunate for, because it just makes me appreciate that much that stuff that much more. So
Yeah, at least
yeah,
the like childhood, you
yeah,
didn't have as much technology around.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the simple life as well. I think that's
Yeah,
really.
yeah, exactly. And I had the luxury of being bored,
Mhm.
where nowadays it's like, what do you do? Just sit there, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I might as well watch a movie. I mean, you have all these streaming services where you used to have to go to Redbox or go to Colburn's to rent a movie. I mean,
Mhm.
just the way the world has developed is crazy in my opinion. So
Yeah,
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 it really is.
yeah,
So we talked about the evolution at Sherman, the
yeah,
tools like the hammer to the screw gun is the biggest one
yes.
here, and it was 2008, I
Okay,
guess, that we started using screw guns on steel, but it
okay.
wasn't until 2017 or 2018 that we started using it for framing.
No
So that's
kidding.
only 7, 8 years ago, six,
Yeah.
7 years ago. Yeah. So that's kind of wild. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a screw gun when I was in high school building pole sheds, maybe I would have stuck with it because I always had to use the hammer
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was a little rough.
yeah,
But
yeah. It definitely has changed the learning curve, for our industry and whatnot. But I don't know. It's some of that stuff where my dad framed when he was like in between high school and then I don't know, probably for 10 years, I suppose. And he pounded nails. They used to frame the rafters on site. They would build the rafters on site,
mm-hmm,
and it's just stuff like that that blows my mind. Where sometimes you get the crews that they're a little they'll throw a complaint in here and there because they were missing something or
mm,
this and that, and it's like it could be
you
a
don't even know
lot
what it
worse.
was like
Yeah,
before.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Andrew even talks about when he first got started, the Bram lumberyard used to come drill holes with a tractor.
Mm,
So once that tractor leaves, there's no piece of equipment on site.
yeah.
You have to do everything else by hand, move the
Yeah.
material, so
Yeah.
just stuff like that we definitely take for granted. And
Mm-hmm.
like we just purchased a new auger bit and auger head, and the two combined was $10,000. $10,000 to drill a hole in the ground to build
Yeah.
a pole shed. I mean,
Right.
stuff
That's
like that
wild.
blows your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, when Andrew started, $10,000 could probably build you a large pole shed,
Oh, yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
and
Probably one of the largest ones we ever would have built at that time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It just stuff
Yeah.
like that blows my mind, and it's fun to think about. So
And we still do the traditional pole buildings where the poles go in the ground and
yep,
we frame around. But our side, because you're on the housing side,
yep,
I'm more on the pole building side. And we do about 80% of our buildings now are stud and steels that
yep,
we call them, with the concrete is already poured. And we build the wall sections here, go put them on the concrete and anchor bolt them down.
yeah,
And a lot of our crews, a lot of our old school guys were like, that's pole sheds for dummies. Like, we want
yeah,
to be men. We want to whittle the tree branches, the trees into the
yeah.
poles ourselves. But
Exactly.
now they're getting more used to it. So it's funny
Uh
how
huh.
how fast we get used to
Yeah.
innovation.
Exactly. How times change, and
Hmm.
yeah, I mean it makes total sense, and that's one thing that I admire so much, the wood shop, because the development from it is just crazy. How from building the material to loading it to building it on site. I mean, you can
Hmm.
have a pole shed be built so fast,
Hmm.
so fast.
Hmm.
And I think it's super cool, but then you also look back to how they used to do things and how
Hmm.
that same shed would have took 5 times as long,
Hmm.
but still been built the same quality,
Hmm.
but yeah, I
Hmm.
don't know, it's just different things like that. And I definitely can see the innovation here.
Hmm.
We're willing to invest the time, the energy to standardize things, to make things easier, so that if there is someone that is new or fresh at building, they can learn easily, and a person that's only been at it for a little time can teach, which
Hmm.
is super nice. It's not that where you got to be building for 5 years before you actually know something. So yeah.
Yeah, so innovation is great, but I think that we should just stay conscious of the evolution and remember where we started.
Yes,
Otherwise, we're going to lose everything.
exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
So another one of your favorite memories was going up with your dad to the grain farm and being tossed up in the corn bin.
yeah,
Like, what a serious fun time.
yeah,
And I think that shows your zest for life.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just the like, I suppose it was probably an adrenaline rush at the time,
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
doing something fun, and I don't know, surrounded by stuff that I very much so enjoyed, because I wouldn't say that I have a one-track mind, but I have a focused mind, and so it's like if I have free time, I'll watch YouTube videos of other
Mm,
people farming and this and
mm,
that, just trying to take ideas that they have or different perspectives from different parts of the world and then see if any portion of that can be inputted into my operation and stuff. So yeah,
mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah, it's really fun.
Awesome. Okay, so on my first episode, I talked about how I started loving leadership from watching Simon Sinek's podcast, A
Yep.
Bit of Optimism. So for our first episode, I thought we could talk about my favorite episode of A Bit of Optimism, and that one is called Designing the Future with Brian Collins. And I asked you to watch that. It's about 4 years old, but I still think about it all the time. They talk about how the word hope is actually an action word. You can't just lay around on the couch thinking something's going to happen. A quote from it is, show up with an axe, not a lottery ticket, because the future we get to live in is the one that we will have to build and bash down doors for. So hope is an axe. That's the line that's always in my head. And Simon's he travels a lot. He always talks about being at airports. So every time I've been at an airport in the last 4 years, I just like always imagine I'm gonna see him like going one way down the escalator and I'm going the other, and I'll just yell, "Hope is an axe, Simon. Hope is an axe." And you recently told me what you like to do when you go to airports,
Yeah.
which goes
I
back to your curiosity.
Absolutely. So obviously, people watch 100%.
Yeah.
I think that it's such an interesting environment, and I think the way that I described it to you is like a VIP club that you have to buy a ticket to.
Mhm.
Because you can't just go to the airport. I mean,
Mhm.
not since 9/11 at least.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've enjoyed, either going on work trips or just random solo things that I've done, is trying to get to know someone either on the airplane or in the airport somewhere, just because the odds of you seeing that person again are like basically zero. I mean,
Yeah.
it's possible, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
they're very, very low. And I think it's just interesting because there's so many cool people out there. And in the modern day world, with people that own businesses and this and that, you hear the term that people suck,
Mm.
because one bad person can kind of put a foul taste in your mouth. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of good people out there, and I think that it's just really fun to get to know someone and kind of hear their life story. And here's the thing, they could be filling me full of BS easily. Their name is actually, whatever, and they told me something completely different. But
Well, maybe that's another angle you could bring it at. You could go and pretend to be somebody else. Be like, "Oh, my name's Brian, and
that's
this
a
is what I do." How fun would that be?
that
Do a
would
little
be
acting.
crazy. Yeah. You see that on like sitcoms all the time where they're like at a bar and they're supposed to be someone else,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that would be hilarious. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll have to try and think of an alias
Yeah.
that I can try sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is so easy for people to think, "Oh, people suck," or like, "This person cut me off in line, they suck." But like, sit down and have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going through. They might have accidentally cut you off because they're thinking about their moms in the hospital,
Yeah.
or they're going through a divorce or whatever. So like,
Uh-huh.
the curiosity is how you stop thinking the world sucks so much.
Absolutely. And then I also think that you never know what someone's going through, kind of to what
Mhm.
you were saying. And so I joke that I was cursed with a smile, but I just have a resting smile. So,
Yeah.
but sometimes I think to myself, the smile that I give to someone usually is halfway contagious. It depends,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I think that that could be the little spark in their day that just
Mhm.
kind of turns it around,
Mhm.
or yeah, just the little acts of kindness that actually impact something. You never
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
but I don't know. That's why I think I'm a hopeful person, because I hope that it does, and
Mhm.
and I don't know.
And I've read that smiles are contagious. So if you
Okay.
walk into a room and smile, even if the person automatically smiles back at you,
Yeah.
they might like be like, "Oh, I don't like that person. I shouldn't have smiled." But like they can't help it but smile
Yeah.
if you smile.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And work is kind of a different beast or whatever, because it's Monday.
Mm.
Everybody's, like got the case of the Mondays, like they say, and from Office Space. I love that movie, but and it's one of those things where it's like no one's really amped up to go get after it. I mean, some people are, don't get me wrong, but that's one thing where it's like I have the luxury of not going out and working on
Mhm.
the 90-degree days
Mm.
like the crew guys do. So
Mhm.
when I show up to the meetings or whatever, I
Mhm.
try to be the person that they actually want to be around in the morning. Which
Mhm.
honestly could probably backfire a little bit because sometimes people say that I'm too chipper in the morning. Brad tells me that all the time. And but I don't know. I think it's just exciting. We do exciting things here, and we're making people's dreams come true, especially on the home side. I mean,
Mhm.
hopefully we're building a forever home for
Mhm.
every single one of these people that is going to be blow their expectations out of the water and just be something that they can love forever. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the hope.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so another quote in there is you can't just passively wait for the world around you to change. So like I was thinking about that with like finances and fitness. Like you can't just hope you're gonna get rich. You can't just hope
Yep.
that you're gonna get in shape. Like it's an action hope is an action word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another one is hope and optimism is a battery that drive change. And I'm a born optimist, and I'm assuming you are too.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Hmm. I watched a podcast this weekend with Alex Hormozy on
Okay.
the Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson.
Okay. Yeah.
And they said pessimists get to be right, but optimists get to be rich. So let's get rich.
That's the goal, right?
But like
No.
that made so much sense to me. Like, yeah, pessimist, like, yeah, you're probably going to be right. But what do you get out of being right? An
Exactly.
optimist who believes in a brighter future
Yeah.
and then can use that hope, use the axe to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And
why not try to be?
exactly. And that's the fact of life. Bad things happen. And, they always say, like, why do bad things happen to good people? But to me, I think that there's a ton of good people that have good things happen to them as well. And if you're questioning that, then, I don't know. It's kind of a different thing. And I don't know. It's just the struggle is part of it.
Hmm.
You're always learning something. And I think that that's almost the purpose of life is to try and for one get to know yourself better and to get to know the world better,
Hmm.
but that's through failure.
Hmm.
Alex Hermosi has something saying that if you aren't learning, you're stagnating.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
like if you stink at something right now, well, guess what? At least you're trying.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think that that's something to be thought about for sure because I don't know, life is very very complicated
Hmm.
and I don't know. Sometimes it's not all that's cracked up to be growing up. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
think back to when I was a kid, life was so easy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's the beauty of it is the struggle, and then I also like the curiosity of it because
Hmm.
it's like I don't know what this is all going to be about, but I'm going to figure it out. And
Yeah. And I've always liked the idea of uncomfortability makes you change, but I really like got firsthand experience with it this weekend. I was sleeping in my truck,
okay,
watching the storm,
yeah,
and two different things happened where like I was uncomfortable, so I got up and moved, and then I saw that some lights were on in the front of the truck that I would be able to turn off, and it was like, oh, if I hadn't been uncomfortable, I wouldn't have moved to see that I can change that
yeah,
so it can get even darker in here.
yeah,
And then I got a cramp in my foot like an hour later. I was like falling asleep and I got this cramp in my foot. And my thought was like, oh, why did I have to get this cramp in my foot? But then I had to wake back up and then I got to see the storm again. So it's like
yeah,
being uncomfortable
yeah,
is how you change.
exactly,
So
yeah.
it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, or it's like even just the simplest version that you're driving to a destination and there's a detour that you didn't know about and you're
Mm,
like, and you're
mm-hmm,
so annoyed. But then you take this detour and it's the most beautiful road you've ever
mm-hmm,
been on and you see the house of your dreams, or something
mm-hmm.
like that. It's just like
Might see some
yeah,
horses
yeah,
or,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, or like the burnt toast theory, where the time it takes you to re-cook a new toast
Mm,
saved your life because something
yes.
you come up on an accident or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just all those little things that add up to I don't know make your life different. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love it. Simon says if you assume there's no hope, you will guarantee there's no hope. Can you think of a moment in your life when you felt hopeless but shifted your mind state and saw change?
Yeah, definitely owning livestock. you get to see the highs and lows. And I've been in situations that have been like extremely difficult, that it's just a no-win situation. You can't save the cow, you can't save the calf type of deal, or something of that nature. And it feels terrible at that moment, and it really makes you question why you do what you do. But then you get to see the next one have a perfect calf, and
Mm.
it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And the mom has the baby, and the baby gets up and starts nursing right away, and you're like, this is exactly why I do it.
Mm.
And the good can't come without the bad,
Mhm.
so yeah, it's the struggle that makes it worth it. Because if everything was easy, or if it was easy, everyone would do it,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
yeah, that's why you just have to take the hard things, because they're gonna come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't have that life, that new life without death. Otherwise,
exactly.
the life wouldn't even be exciting of
Yeah,
the calves.
yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Do you agree that hope is a choice? What are the risks of assuming that there's no hope?
yeah, I 100% do. I think a hopeless mindset just turns you into a negative space.
Mm.
And then you notice all these things that are negative, but then you miss all these things that are positive,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
it's like just the little things that could wreck the rest of your day. But you just say, ah, man, that was irritating, but you're done with it. You just
Mhm.
forget about it, because the rest of your day could be stinking awesome. And I don't know, then I always kind of go back to the fact where it's like, even if I'm having a bad day, I don't have a bad life.
Mhm.
And if I'm having a bad day, I shouldn't push that off on someone else, because
Mm.
then that just makes your life bad too.
Yeah.
Or your day bad, I guess,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You gotta
just
check your energy.
exactly, just try to do that. And I don't know, that's one thing where I enjoy myself, because I think I have a positive vibe or whatever. And
Mhm.
I want to be someone that people want to be around and people want to work with. Because
Mhm.
if you're neither of those two, it's kind of a tough go. So,
Mhm. Mhm. For sure. What's one version of the future that you're afraid of and one that you're excited for?
um, I don't know. I mean, technology definitely, it doesn't scare me, but it makes me wonder what the world will look like in X amount of years, just because, with AI, it's going to develop so much faster, is the way that I kind of feel. So I hope that we don't lose the like values that we have from building things and doing things ourselves. Um, because it's like just the firsthand experience is so valuable. Like
Mhm.
pretty soon you'll probably be able to take a virtual tour through wherever, and then you feel like you don't have to actually go there.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared of that because I
Yeah,
love traveling so much, and like, what if then you don't? What if it's all different? I don't
yeah,
really want it to be.
exactly. Yeah, which maybe it will be a little bit of a good thing, because then those people won't travel, and then you'll still go,
Maybe,
and there'll be
yeah,
way less
yeah,
travelers there. I don't know.
yeah,
Just trying to
could
be
be.
optimistic, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I thought you were gonna go like with, oh, we won't use so much like fuel. It'll be better for the environment,
Oh,
but I don't know.
I'm just thinking that, yeah, you'll have the place to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be great. But will there be any restaurants there to eat
That's true.
then?
Yeah, yeah. You open up a whole new can of worms.
Hmm.
That's for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Who
yeah,
knows what's gonna happen?
yeah.
So they talk about how there are multiple futures and that we have to fight for the one we want. Do you believe we're passive recipients of the future or active creators of it?
Definitely creators, because I mean, you could take a bad experience, like for example, losing a calf, or I could just
Mm.
up and decide I don't want to be a farmer anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and then my life would be 100% different than it is right now. And but I didn't. So now that's what it is. And I think that there's not forks in the road. There's more just like a million different crossroads that you can decide to go on. And it's just whatever your heart desires, basically. It has to align with your values and the idea of what that life could become. And I think you just have to go for it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where work, comes into it. And yeah, I don't know, that's where you have to have passion for it too, because if you don't have that, then you're your drive to do something is probably going to start to die off.
Hmm.
But
In a world with multiple possible futures, how do you stay focused on the one you care about the most?
um, basically, just making sure that day to day my thoughts and ideas and goals are still, or everything that I'm doing is going towards that.
Hmm.
So like I like to read, different farming magazines and whatnot, and then watch videos like that. And I don't know, just kind of always have it in the back of your mind, just because you never know what you're going to get inspired from,
Hmm.
and what's going to like spark that little bit of creativity that's going to say, this is what I should do, holy smokes. And
Hmm.
so yeah, that's just where I feel like I'm an observant person, and I very much so enjoy that, because then I can notice different things and be like, why why did they do it that way when they could have done it this way? And then you realize the reason, and then that can apply to something else. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, just trying to connect the dots is basically, it's kind of what life is about, basically,
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this morning, I read Seth Godin's blog that I get emailed every day,
Okay.
and it was about daydream fatigue, and I thought that fit well in with this conversation. He said, "Spend enough time inventing possible futures in your head, and you won't have any time to build the future we will all share." And I was like, oh, like I needed to hear that because I'm such a daydreamer. And
Yeah.
I've been thinking lately about like just setting time aside every Saturday to like for an hour just journal
Uh-huh.
about what I want for the future. So I'm not like constantly living in it. I'm really good at not living in the past,
Yeah.
but I live in the future a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then I don't know, something like that, where it's like, if you do narrow down what you want your future to look like, just taking small steps towards being that way. It's like,
Hmm.
you don't have to go get a, if you want to be fit, or what, if that's the goal, you don't have to go get a gym membership and go every single day. You can go one day a week. That's way
Hmm.
better than zero.
Yes,
So it's like,
100%.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just those small accomplishments, and then
Hmm.
you have to be proud of yourself because you
Hmm.
actually did something about it,
Hmm.
instead of just continuously thinking about it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
one day a week is still going to help your joints and
exactly. Yeah,
your flexibility
yeah,
and your brain.
yeah.
Okay, they talk about being delusional in a good way,
Okay.
believing in impossible things. Can you think of a time when you followed an idea that didn't make sense to others, but you just knew it was right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would resonate that back to like being a first generation farmer.
Mm,
It technically skipped a generation, because my grandpa was, my dad wasn't, then it was me.
mm,
And I didn't have anything to inherit. Basically kind of started everything from scratch with knowledge from others, obviously. But it kind of seems like a impossible feat from the outside looking in, because the majority of the time it's just passed down generation after
yeah.
generation. So I don't know. It's stuff like that. But then I don't know. I kind of want to be the crazy guy that's going after it, because everybody's going to be a naysayer, and then when you accomplish something, everyone's going to tell you how lucky you were, but they didn't see
Yes.
the work in between there.
Right.
And
Right.
realistically, that doesn't matter to me, because I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of the like product that has
Hmm.
developed from my hard work. So yeah, I don't know, it's super super fun. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we only have one life. Gotta go for
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
was there people that were kind of negative when you said you wanted to do it?
Yeah, I mean, more or less, just I only own 20 acres, and like last year I had about 70 cows on it. And just for the winter, then I rent pasture and stuff. And people start thinking like, holy smokes, you want to have 300 cows on that little bit? And it's like, okay, but you don't know the rest of the plan. You're just judging off of what it looks like right now.
Mhm.
So it's just
Mhm.
kind of stuff like that, where it's like, don't I've thought about this plenty. You
Mhm.
don't worry about it. Don't worry about the fine details.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
people get so worried for other people.
Yeah,
It's like just let them do what they want to
exactly.
do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And the if you look at what I've done, you don't think that I've put any time into just growing and growing and growing until it's bursting at the seams. No, I'm
Mm.
I'm going to make what do you call it, like reservations, to make sure that everything is in order, and
Mhm.
and it's going to work, because
Yeah.
that's the goal, you know?
Smart enough to know not to grow too fast
Exactly.
or you won't be able to keep up with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Test the waters before you jump in.
What is something you are designing literally or metaphorically that you hope will still matter years from now?
I mean, I hope that farming or cattle in general is going to be something that, is still looked upon like with a high standard as
Yeah.
it is today. With the lab grown meat that's kind of starting to be pushed around and whatnot or whatever, makes me a little bit nervous, but the product that becomes, everyone likes eating a burger,
Mhm.
everyone
Mhm.
loves a
Everybody
steak.
likes
Wow.
eating a real burger
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
real steak. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I don't think I should be too fearful of it. But then just refining that and
Mhm.
making something that um is really, something that I am incredibly proud of and stuff. And that's the difficult part, because when you have a calf, 2 years later is when that calf would potentially have its own calf. So it's a
Mm,
very slow process in order to like turn over.
mhm.
But just making sure that your idea of your ideal cow is in the back of your mind, so that you're kind of selecting for that. But it's
Mhm.
really fun, really
Mhm.
fun. Yeah.
Mhm. If you had no fear of failure, what wild or future focused project would you start today?
Honestly, I would quit my job today and just full-time farm if I knew that I could do it. But it's not that I'm too fearful of it. I just know that the cost implications of being self-employed
Mm,
are very, very difficult. Insurance, just all of that, and it's like cattle, the cycle is cyclical. So right now they're on an all-time low, so they're worth a lot of money, but pretty soon it's going to be reversed and they're not
mm,
going to be worth that much, but it's still going to be worth it for me to do it, so
mm,
it's like right now it maybe would be possible, but I don't know.
mhm,
I also love working here, so it would be
mhm.
really difficult to quit.
Well, as much as we love you being here, I care more about you
Yeah,
doing your ultimate dream.
yeah,
So if
yeah,
there's anything ever we can help with,
yeah, yeah, maybe someday we'll see.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Um, and we both liked how they talked about hiring people for their inevitability, not their potential. What did you like about that?
Yeah, I think that people have or are inevitably going to be the person they are, with the right environment, with the right advice, with the
Mm.
right management. I think that it takes the perfect recipe in order for it to happen.
For people to be their best
Yeah,
selves.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that there's a select few that can actually hire people for their inevitability. And I think that there's people in upper management, you being one of them, that definitely can see that in someone and can kind of press in the right areas in order
Mhm.
to see that person excel.
Mhm.
Because whether it's their work ethic or their just interests, you can kind of shape and mold their job duties in order for them to flourish and stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I think that there's people that are born to work. There's people that are born to lead. There's people that are born to do a little bit of both. So
Mhm.
I think that yeah, it's like a second nature for some people, that they can just find that in someone and then kind of develop that person into exactly who they knew they could be.
Yeah, I think a leader's biggest strength is seeing people's strengths and weaknesses and
Yeah.
then helping them. Um, I took a personality test quite a few years ago and it like put all my strengths in order from 1 to 30, but it was like only focus on the top 5. Don't think you have to do like get good at all of them or like work on the bottom ones to make them better.
Yeah.
Like my number one strength was curiosity.
Okay.
And it's like, yeah, those and the other 4, like just keep focusing on those ones. So if you can do that with every person
Yeah.
that you work with, whether you are their leader or not. Like everybody's a leader and can be, and just accept people for how they are. If there's something you don't like about them, just really focus on the thing that you do like about them and help them grow that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I think it goes back to like trying to put someone in a box
Mm,
or someone in a box. If they don't fit inside that box, you don't have to just get rid of the person. You just
Mhm.
have to find a different
Mhm.
box, or you have to change the shape of the box,
So true.
So it's like, yeah, yeah.
So
So
true.
yeah,
And
that's
Steve's been so great at that too. Like, oh, they're not fitting in here at this. Let's go try them in this department. Let's go try this. You don't just like
yeah,
toss people to the
exactly.
side.
Yeah, yeah. And you can recognize the person is someone that you want working here.
Yeah.
It's just the role that they're in isn't perfectly suited for them.
Mhm.
That's okay. We're gonna
Mhm.
figure it out,
Mhm.
So yeah,
Like we talked about in the episode last week with Julie, like when she was hired, it was like, we're hiring you. Now you figure out where you fit in. And she fit in really well in the HR. And now
exactly.
we need her to
Yeah,
survive.
yeah, yeah. And like me, I think I was a personality hire. No,
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
no. I didn't have anything to do with it, so I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised.
No. Oh.
um, one last quote from that episode is,
Mhm.
"If you want to go somewhere fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together." What's a time for yourself or something you've witnessed where collaboration led to a better outcome than going solo?
Oh, that's a good question. I absolutely do love that quote. Let's see. I don't know. I think my dad would be a good example for it. He's a very particular person. I would call him a perfectionist for sure.
Hmm.
And the way that he does things takes time, because perfection or almost perfection takes a lot of time and thought in order for to get something done. But I was fortunate enough growing up that he was willing to teach myself and my two brothers to do something. And we definitely didn't do it to his standard, but we're doing it together, and
Mm,
I think that yeah, that's something that I'm super thankful for because it's like, the little bits and pieces, even though I can't get the same product that he has, I still have some of the same thought processes on
mm,
how to do something from him. So
mhm,
yeah, yeah.
mhm. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Would you
Okay.
rather
Okay. Yes.
have the power to predict the future
Okay.
or the power to read the minds of your farm animals?
Oh, the farm animals for sure. Yeah. No, the future is going to be amazing. I know it is because there's no
Mm,
other outcome and stuff. But yeah, that's one thing that would be so cool because I would love to tell them, hey, you think that you're scared right now, or like you think I'm gonna do something to you when you hop in this trailer. I'm gonna turn you out on this beautiful field that you're gonna
yeah,
graze for the entire
yeah,
summer. It's
yeah.
gonna be
The shot
paradise.
is going to help you not
Yes.
get an infection.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like,
Hmm.
oh, it'd be so simple. Or they'd say, "No, you don't have to put me in the barn today because I'm not gonna have my baby until tomorrow."
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
feeling it. Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
But I love that so much because that just shows how true of
Yeah.
an optimist you are,
Yeah.
that you're not worried about the future.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. Always excited.
Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. Well, yeah, I'm so excited to keep co hosting together. We have a couple really exciting guests coming up
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be fun.
Yeah,
Thanks so
absolutely.
much.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you so much for listening in on That's What She Said. If you are as passionate about leadership as I am, I would love to hear from you. Please go to my website at that'swhatsheshed.live to share feedback, ideas, and start the conversation of coming on the show.